Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
And I'm still the rookie.
Not really. You're starting to get some stripes.
5.
5? How did we get 5?
Well, I know how to do some marketing.
Okay.
I know how to, talk to people for opening calls.
Right.
I know how to do renovating,
Okay.
contracting, buy materials.
Okay.
So at least 5.
I think we should vote.
It's not a vote. You have to write down the sequence of steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
It's just the way you
see
said
how far you can go.
No. It's just like the way you said it. Like, I can find some buyers. What did you say? And it's like your confidence level in them are not like tenacious.
Well, I don't want to present that like I'm the complete expert at each of them, but you have to go through the whole thing a few times, getting better as you go.
Okay, well, you've gone through it a few times.
Yeah. Have I been, is it the ringer?
You definitely have some battle scars. All right, episode number 115, Pita.
Yeah?
115. Today's show name is 30-Minute Talk on if you have a low real estate investor IQ and if you have to fake it to make it. Okay? The show description is, in this podcast, you will get a true understanding of why you don't need a very high real estate IQ these days. It's much different these days than when I started. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And how you can get in and out of a deal in less than 45 days so you get paid quickly. In this episode, we will reveal the 5 important factors every 7-figure investor does to make deals so you could do it too. Okay? Because there's 5 things you have to do. And once you understand them, you can sound like the most professional person and like you got an amazing real estate investor IQ. Once you hear and understand these 5 important factors, your confidence will soon soar and you can get started making more deals. What do you think?
Well, I like things that are numbered because I might be able to remember on my hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't forget one of them.
Right. So last week in episode 114, we talked about the ways to. It was a 30-minute talk, which we're going to start doing that. We're going to start doing 30-minute talks, right? Instead of an hour. So we talked about where to get the money to buy real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one was the bank. The second one was private lenders and hard money lenders. And the third one was our buyer. So we specialize in number 3, although we do the other 2 very often.
Sure.
Right? But what makes us different is we specialize in how to get the buyer to fund the deal.
Which you would usually not think of because you think you have to get the deal, then to get the buyer.
Right.
But there's ways to do it.
Right. So today what I want to talk about is we'll start with the 5 things that I'm promising, right, that we need to do. It's the 5 factors. I haven't quite got the right word of what to call them. I had the word. I have a feeling that it's not a very well-known word.
What are you using?
I was thinking axioms. So, like, why don't you give the definition of an axiom?
Well, an axiom is like a principle that is obvious. It's like a law, but you don't have to prove it to people. You can see with your own 2 eyes, like if you drop something, it'll fall to the ground because you can see gravity happening. Right. It's that logical. Once you see it, like, oh, of course.
Yeah. So that's what happens is with us is some of our stuff is so simple. It's like really obvious, and they're like, oh, I already know that.
Yeah, but how long did it take us to figure gravity? Isaac Newton a few hundred years ago, and before that, we were wondering how we stuck on this planet. Right. We're afraid we're going to fly off one day. Right. Or not.
So until that happens, until somebody actually states it or clarifies it or articulates it or whatever word you want to use, it's not easily duplicatable.
Yeah, it's almost like you discover it, and you see it, and then when you show people, they can see the trees in the forest and all.
So let's give an example, right? What do we just say? What do we specialize in?
Buying houses using buyer's money.
Okay, good. So I have a really blunt, easy, simple question to exactly demonstrate what you just said.
Yeah.
So isn't that what a realtor does?
Yeah, even if the buyer goes to get it from a bank or whatever, or has cash, one way or the other, the buyer's paying for the house.
Right.
The realtor isn't.
Right. So the realtor goes and finds the buyer that has the money and funds the deal.
Yeah. He doesn't buy the house.
So how different are we? The difference is the realtor brings the buyer's money to the table in 30 or 45 days.
Mm-hmm.
What the seller doesn't realize is there's a tremendous cost for that money because it's been shortened up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's coming quickly. So like we always talk about, it's a stupid example, but it's a good example. If I sell my computer to you today for $1,000 and you give me $1,000 worth of cash, you paid $1,000 for the computer, right?
Sure. Cash. Money now.
Because it's money right now. It's
Mm-hmm.
instantaneous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or within a short period of time.
Yep.
But if you paid for that computer with your credit card and paid over the next 24 months, you're not paying $1,000 anymore.
No, you have to pay extra for the privilege of stretching it out and getting it now when you couldn't wait another year to save up the money because you
Right.
wouldn't. You'd blow it on beer.
Right. Really?
Yeah.
Blow it on beer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Okay.
No, my son did a thing with his friends. I don't have any money. You know, the young ones. What do you do? I go to the bar every night. At the end of the month, they were spending $600 a month on stuff. You know, just stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you get the point,
Yeah.
right? So what we specialize in is not tricky. It's not obvious, which, by the way, man, my throat is bothering me. Sorry. By the way, this is how you buy real estate without a loan. It's like, that's the magic.
Yeah.
Is you find a seller that wants more money and is willing to wait for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find a buyer that's not qualified and willing to pay for the property
Because he has to wait.
until he gets qualified.
Yeah.
And he's willing to pay more.
Yeah, one wants to wait, one has to wait.
Right.
Or one's willing to wait.
Right. Right. And that's that's what we specialize in.
Uh-huh.
So if you're confused about everything we talk about, just understand that concept. We're finding a seller that wants more money, is willing to wait, and will pay his expenses while he's waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And you find a buyer
Mm-hmm.
that can't buy now and is willing to pay the expenses until he can be qualified to buy.
Mm-hmm. And therein lies the little extra money that funds the seller, the extra, and the funds extra for our fees and money.
Right. And that's where you get money now, money monthly, money later. It's in those deals.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a whole bunch of ways. In fact, last night, I didn't even ask you about that. We'll talk about that later. But the meetup.
Yep.
I mean, I just went on and on and on and on and on. And it's not that I was boring or anything. I mean, we didn't leave there till 9:45. I didn't end till 9:45 because we were doing deal structures. All the different ways that you can make offers to a seller, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would benefit the seller and benefit the buyer. Right? There are so many ways that you can do those deals. You know, there's just so many ways. And we teach, you and I teach, that there's 7 ways that we stick to, but there's a lot of derivatives of those 7 ways.
Yeah, it's always interesting. When I finally figured out the 7 ways and could get my head wrapped around it, you started hybriding and mixing and matching. Like, whoa, wait a minute.
Right.
Yeah, but if you understand, it's like tools.
Right.
You know, sometimes you have a chisel, then you have a hammer. You need to
Right.
use them both sometimes.
Right. Right. To get
You
the
know,
rock broke.
You want to
yeah.
screw something in a wall, maybe you drill a hole first, then screw it in. So you have enough tools in the 7 offers that you can combine a bit.
Right.
And as long as the numbers work and the profit's there and everyone's happy, who cares?
You know, that reminds me, something just came to my mind when you had said a drill.
Yeah.
There's a marketing guy, I forgot who it was, but there's a marketing guy that always talked about when somebody buys a drill, they don't want a drill, they want a hole in a wall. Or they want a hole,
Yeah.
right? So find out what the hole is all about, and you can help them with the drill.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is with our sellers. That's why we have so many offers. So it's not that we have a lot of offers. If you do it correctly, the seller will give you the parameters of how they're willing to receive their money.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're trying to solve some issues.
Right.
They have something they have in mind they want to do. Either it's a goal or a problem. They just have something in the mind they're trying to do.
Right.
And these tools give us opportunities to either accommodate that, and it has to accommodate us too. If you
Right.
can mix the two together, everybody wins.
Exactly. All right, so let's go over the 5 factors that I've been flaunting.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. What do you got?
Because they are going to sound simple, and I don't want you to think, oh, I already know that. But I'm telling you that 7-figure earners do this on every deal. And what happens is I've trained a lot of people. You know that because you've seen it, you being one of them.
Yeah.
Okay? If you don't do these things, or if you're not aware of these things, he's trying to look at my notes.
I'm reading. Yeah.
if you're not aware of these things, then a couple things will happen. One, you won't make deals. You'll blow a deal. Pete's trying to pull my notes to his side of the table. 2, you'll spend a long time trying to make a deal.
Mm.
Or 3, you'll spend a long time with a suspect not knowing they're a suspect.
And never
Thinking
make a
they're
deal.
a deal.
Never
We
make
call
a
them
deal.
mind deals.
Yeah.
In your mind, you think it's a deal, but really it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this really shortcuts a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to a point where you're at least talking to buyers, which I don't know, we surveyed last night. I don't know what's going on because we talk about how to get buyers all the time, how to do it, how to do
Buyers
it.
or sellers?
I'm sorry, sellers.
Sellers.
I keep saying buyers. Yeah, thank you.
Well, we need that after.
Yeah.
There's motivated sellers, and I found this year that there's motivated buyers.
Yeah. So
And maybe there's motivated students or not.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll say that again. So sorry about that. So finding motivated sellers is the easiest part of the game. Okay. So at least nowadays.
Mhm.
Anyways, it wasn't before, but it is now. All right. All right. So 5 things. Number 1, you got to know how to talk to motivated sellers. First, you need to know they're motivated. And that's kind of obvious. I mean, you learned that lesson.
Yeah, I was telling one of your students last night. I don't think he's heard one yet. But I says, no, when you get one, you'll know because they just sound different. They're willing to talk to you. They want some help. They're not arrogant. They're not annoying. They're not mad at you for calling. And few people are mad that I ever talk to, like ever. But it's totally different.
Yeah, I never understood that why people have trouble calling sellers because they advertise their house, like you said.
Yeah.
They advertise their house, and they want you to call them.
Well, generally, people don't like to be bothered somewhat.
Yeah.
Sometimes people get home from a long day of work. They've been hassled all day. They don't want to talk to anybody. They just want to calm down a little bit. A phone call is somebody talking to me.
Right.
And that equals bothering me. But it isn't
Right.
when you're advertising for something.
Right.
Somebody calls about the house. Honey, there's a guy on the phone about the house. Hang on a minute. They're
Right.
excited. They're like, oh, my God, maybe he'll sell the house.
Good. So number 1 is you have to talk to motivated sellers on the phone. It doesn't matter what happens, how you got them, where you got them. Eventually, you need to talk to the person that owns the house on the phone.
Yeah.
You just have to do that. So if you're not a phone person, if you're not a people person, you're not a flipper. Just that simple. Or go to the MLS and talk to your realtor and put 100 offers in on a house and hope you get a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's another way to do it,
Mhm.
which I don't believe that way. Okay. Number 2, you need to know how to get an answer on what the seller's internal price is. Like when we communicate, we use mental image pictures.
Yeah.
So you may not realize this or not, but you are looking. Well, you realize it, but the listeners, when you communicate, you're looking at pictures,
Yeah, you got images. You can see things.
right? So, what picture are they looking at? I mean, what do they expect? Right? Like, what's
Hey,
their go button?
What do you got in mind?
Yeah. So we have a lot of questions for that. And 7-figure investors know how to get that answer.
Yeah.
Now there's a bunch of scripts and ideas like the how to buy real estate without a loan course, which you can find at flippinghousesforrookies.com. Has those scripts in there. All that stuff is there. Okay. My point is this. Scripts are good. They really take my ability or other people like me's ability and give them to the novice guy so that he doesn't have to figure it out. But at the end of the day, you have to understand how vital those scripts are. Because if you don't talk to a seller, like I got a coaching client right now that has actually blown a couple deals because he just can't talk to people. And finally, at last night, he finally said to me, I need to twin up with somebody. I need to practice.
Yeah.
He actually put on a survey. I read his survey from the meetup, and he actually put on there that I need to learn how to talk to people on the phone.
Yeah, I spoke to him too. Yeah.
But you have to go through the process to realize that sometimes yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people don't, when you're starting out in real estate, you don't think that you need to know. Well, you said it the other day. You're like, I didn't think I need to be a salesman or something.
Salesman.
Like
I wasn't thinking that was that much sales. That you're so good at sales, you'll get more deals than me or some other guy who just can't put it together, and then they lose a deal, and you might keep it together, so you just get more.
Right. See, I don't see it as sales.
Mm-hmm.
I see it as just asking the right questions and being interested in the person you're talking to.
Yeah, but that's the best kind of sales in the world. It's not like pitching. When I listen to people sometimes in your coaching call or other places we've heard them talk, they'll take the script, and it sounds like they're just reading and lecturing the guy and just throwing it all at the guy. And then you get on the phone and you actually take the script or the words and you take one sentence, you talk to the person, and you listen to them.
Right.
And you have a conversation. You're not like, blah, 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 blah. I'll do this and I'll do this. Then I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to do that. Then after that, we do this. Like they're lecturing, like they're you on stage.
They give a seminar.
They give a seminar, yeah. Because that's what they've received in their heads, so they're spilling it back instead of just like sit and talk with somebody.
And then when the person says no, they start begging.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right? Okay,
Please.
so how to get the answers on the seller's internal selling price. That's number 2. Number 3, how to figure out what the seller's expected down payment is. So one of the things that we have to figure out, and it's not part of this because part of how to figure out what the seller's internal selling price is, in our offer, if it's too high, which often it is, we don't skip a beat and say, well, here's how it works. And then we give the offer as a terms offer.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, okay, so I can pay you $260,000 for your $240,000 house, but I need time.
Right.
And I need to do a principal-only payment, no interest. And the reason why is because most people think that if they're not getting equity the day they buy the property, which you should do, you should get equity the day you buy the property, you could cash flow. So in other words, real estate is not just about equity or profits. The equity meaning the difference between what you owe and what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so people think that they need equity. Well, that's true, unless you can seriously cash flow. I mean, one of the deal structures you did last night is, which I'm curious to hear your feedback on. Not now, but we'll talk about it later. Where I bought the house for $260 and sold it for $260.
Mm-hmm. And
normally I show that it's an $84,000 profit, but last night I showed it was, when I looked up the deal,
Yeah.
it was actually $102,000.
I heard that like,
profit.
wait a minute, where'd the extra money come from? So
Yeah.
that was interesting.
So the interesting thing is that, I bought a house for $260, sold it for $260, and made $102,000.
I love your math.
But that's because I didn't make the money in equity.
Yeah.
I made it in payments.
And it wasn't all at once.
Yeah, and it took 5 years.
So
Right.
you just keep doing them.
But that's $20,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right.
But then you don't do it one. You don't do one and wait 5 years. You do one and then go grab another one and just build. Yeah. It's like it's a portfolio.
Right.
Okay.
So number 3 is how to figure out what the seller's expected down payment is. So if we're going to get into the conversation of you need to wait some time, that comes up. Like, how much do they want down? Right. Now, personally, number 3 for me is not number 3. It's actually number 10 because
you don't have that. You have the conversation is non-existent unless they ask.
Right. And the only time down payment comes up is when I get a seller that wants to do owner financing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they always say, well, if I get, they're selling a house for $200,000, you give me $80,000 down, I'll consider it.
Yeah.
And my answer is always, well, why would I want to do that? I can go to the bank and give them, $6,000 down.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I want to give you 80? What makes your money more important than the bank's money?
Yep.
So when they say that to me, that's just a cue that they don't know how to do financing. They don't understand money.
Mm-hmm.
And that they're just greedy, which is okay. Everybody's greedy, right? So they just don't understand. That's
Mm-hmm.
really what it comes down to.
But you always negotiate for the fact that they're not getting a down payment. You're going to give them more in the long run.
Right.
Or if they insisted on a down payment, you'd say, well, I have to pay less then.
Right.
You would just give and take, wouldn't you?
Right. Yeah. That's right. So I tell them, if I give you 80 grand, I can't pay 200. Now I got to pay 150 or
Mm-hmm.
whatever,
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, the reason why that guy is doing that is because he wants to make sure he has security. He doesn't feel like his money is safe with you. So if he's giving you a $200,000 house, he doesn't trust you enough or doesn't feel safe enough
Mm-hmm.
that he's not going to lose his money.
Yeah.
So the conversation needs to go to how he's safe.
Right.
And you need to explain that.
Yeah, and your paperwork covers that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 4. So number 1, let's go back through. Number 1 is how to talk to motivated sellers on the phone. Number 2 is how to get the answer on what the seller's internal selling price is. And number 3, how to figure out what the seller's expected down payment is, if any.
Hey, back on 2, is that number, his internal price, is that his lowest price?
Doesn't matter.
Just whatever it is?
What he's willing to do. Yeah, obviously his lowest number would be good.
No.
I mean, that's usually what I get.
Well, his lowest number. It may not be ours, but
Yeah.
okay.
All right, so number 4 is how about what the seller's willing to allow in monthly payments? If he allows monthly payments. So you got to realize that the down payment is if he wants a down payment and how much.
Mm-hmm.
Now what we're saying is how much will he allow you to make in monthly payments?
Right.
Now, a lot of that is predicated on what his payments are. So let's role play a little bit here.
Sure.
Okay. So Pete, I see you have a mortgage here. You owe $130,000.
Yeah.
How much is the monthly payments?
They're $1,238.
Does that include taxes and insurance?
Mm-hmm. That's everything.
All right. So there's no other expenses.
No, just that.
Okay, good. So I'm going to pay the $1,238. Okay.
Oh, okay.
How hard is that? And if you say no, then we take it up.
Yeah, and you don't say, is it okay if I pay $1,238? I'm going to pay $1,238.
I'm going to pay
Next.
$1,238, right? So I'm going to cover your expenses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So 98% of the time you do just what you say. Okay. Now,
well, that's what I pay. That's what you pay.
Right. Well, a lot of times people that have houses that we're buying are not professional landlords.
Mm-hmm.
They're accidental landlords.
Mm-hmm.
Or they've just never done this before, and we're not taking advantage of them. We're going to pay their debt until we can get them paid off.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So why not cover their expenses fully? And that's what we promised them we were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just that simple. You don't need to be a genius to do that.
Yeah. Well, what's the most you could do? Give another 100 or 2 on top of that? What's that going to do for him? If he needs that, like just work 2 hours more a week, but that's not his problem. His problem is the full payment, and then maybe the house itself, the rest of it. But that's that's not a big deal. Another 100 up or down.
So let's just do that real quick. I don't think we have a lot of time to do this. Not really, but so one of the things you could do in that particular case, and we talked about this in one of our episodes. I don't remember which one it was, right? But if you say, okay, so you say, well, let's do it again.
Mm-hmm.
How much are your payments?
$1,238.
Okay, that's what I'm going to pay every month. Okay.
Yeah. And do I say no?
Yeah, you would say no. I want $200 more money.
Well, I like a little something from that.
How much?
A couple hundred.
Okay, that's no problem. So here's what happens. I will gladly pay you the $200, but I'm going to give the tenant to you, and you're going to be responsible to take care of everything.
Yeah, you turn it into a slot deal.
Right.
Yeah, you get out of it. Well, because you just lost your cash flow if you have to give that much and there's not much left.
And the bottom line is that if I'm going to take on the responsibility, I want to get paid for it.
Yeah.
And there's nobody that's going to say no to that.
Would you do it if you had like an $800 spread or a $1,000 spread?
You do whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah, I could, huh?
Okay, so number 5. Okay. In final, how about the time and the term? I don't know why it says in final. I don't know why I put that there. How about the time or the term your seller will give you to actually pay off their loan with the buyer's money, which, by the way, is the magic of how to buy real estate without a loan.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So once you get the term, once you get the price down, how long will they give you?
Yeah.
Now this matters a whole lot because if the house is free and clear, it allows them to make a shit ton of more money. Because if they're going to give you 5 years, you give them one price. If they're going to give you 10 years, you give them another price. They're going to give you 20 years, you give them another price. And the reason why is because pure mathematics, and I don't know who it was. I think it was Einstein or something like that. They said, on his deathbed, supposedly, I read this somewhere. I'm totally
the man's greatest invention?
Yeah.
Compounded interest?
Yeah, simple interest or compounded interest, yeah. Right? So at the end of the day, math is math.
Mm-hmm.
So if you pay too much money, then just get more time to pay it down so you can get the debt down and build in the equity.
Because the money's coming from the buyer.
Right.
Until he cashes out, he's paying and paying and paying. Right. And don't feel sorry for that because that poor guy was stuck in a rental for the rest of his life. And now he has a chance to rent for a while, or lease for a while, and then buy the house. Right. So you've shortened that up for the guy. So he's paying a little extra in the long run, but less than the long run. Right. Getting stuck in a house with the wife yelling at him because it's a rental.
Exactly. All right, so let's cover these, and then I want to cover something real quick, and then we're going to end off. Okay?
Yep.
So, the 5 factors are how to talk to a motivated seller on the phone. That's very important. 2, how to get the answer on what the seller's internal selling price is. 3, how to figure out what the seller's expected down payment is. 4, how about what the seller is willing to do and allow you for monthly payments.
Mm-hmm.
Like how much?
Yeah.
Right? And then how much? So I'm stumped there because it's like what the seller's willing to do. You have to figure out what they're willing to do.
On 4 or 5.
Yeah, on 4.
Yeah.
So like, how about what the seller's willing to do to allow monthly payments?
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of times my students go in and say, well, and they do all this math and think they're going to do this deal or do that deal. And then, they got a free and clear house and they think they're going to do owner financing and they end up doing a slot because the seller's not willing to come off his price.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you can make money is with a slot deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so willing is important there.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, how about the time or the term that the seller is willing to give you to actually pay off their loan with the buyer's money?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're going to tell them you're going to go to the buyer. Okay, so that's good. So we have about 3 or 4 minutes left, and I'm going to throw a golden nugget in here in the end. Okay?
Nuggets.
A nugget. So this is what you need to do at the end of the day when you're making an offer, because I think part of this is all about making the offer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So once you get these 5 things, and they seem simple, but a little complicated, those 5 things, once you do all of those, you'll buy deals. Your mindset has to have these on the top of your mind all the time. If you're not doing this in each deal, you're not going to do deals.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Well, those are the elements or the components.
Right. So when you're negotiating, here's the golden nugget.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The first thing I do is I settle on a price. I only talk about price.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm telling you this because when we're talking about all the monthly payments and the term and all that, I've heard my students on recordings and they jump all over the place.
Well, it wasn't until recently that I realized that you had it that organized. Because if you sit down in front of somebody and you start talking, you don't know what to talk about sometimes because you're just looking at a puzzle, a pile on taken apart. There's a bunch of puzzle pieces, but you got it in sequence.
In my head, yeah.
Yeah, but that makes sense too. Yeah,
so they
want to hear the price, don't they?
Yeah. First thing I want to do is I want to talk about price. I want to settle on price, and I want to have closure on this is what we're going to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So much so that we can put it on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and usually it's an option agreement, but put it on paper. Once I get the price settled on, and we agree, yes, this is what we're going to do, then what I talk about is I talk about the monthly payment. And I just talk about the monthly payment. I don't talk about nothing else. I don't bring the price in unless of course, he says he wants a high monthly payment, then I'll reduce the price.
Yeah, we can always go back and change things.
Right.
You haven't bought it yet.
Right.
Yes, but you just focus on one.
So I just focus on one. Then I get the agreements and settlements on, okay, this is how much you're going to take a month. And then I recap it. Okay, so I'm going to pay this much, and I'm going to give you this much monthly.
Yeah.
Then the third thing I do is I talk about the term.
Mm-hmm.
How long are they willing to give me the money?
Mm-hmm.
Right? In other words, the reverse vector of that is, when do they want their cash?
Yeah.
How long are they willing to wait for their chunk of dough?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And the way you entice them and the carrot in front of their nose is how much you're going to give them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they take the money now, they're going to get 10 grand. If they take the money in 5 years, they're going to get 40 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're going to take the money in 10 years, they're going to get 80 grand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I'm exaggerating.
Generally,
But that's how it is. And when you explain that to them, you give them the choice. And we talked about this yesterday. We talked about this in great deal yesterday. The problem with our industry is the only choice the seller knows about is to go to the realtor and get the money that way, because there's no other choice. Until somebody like you and I come along and they give them another choice. I'll have you know that 34% of this country is free and clear.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this in great length yesterday, great length. There are a high percentage of those people that don't want their money right now. They have plenty of cash flow. They're living comfortable. They have a means of getting cash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they'd rather, especially when we're using IRA money. When we borrow IRA money, those people can't use the money till they're 60, and they might only be 40 years old. So they don't need the money. They just want to build it.
Yeah, you can't have it. So, well, a house can be like that too. If you
exactly,
because I've talked to those same people. I've even told them, like, some people go around looking to buy a house to make money, and you have one. Hang on to it a little while,
right,
and milk it for more.
Right.
But we'll take the problems away that you have with it,
right,
and let you milk it.
Right. Okay, good. So we're at a little over our 30 minutes, so we're going to end off. So just not to leave you hanging, I never do this. I never write down the URL, and I got to ask Emma what it is. So I'm not going to leave you hanging for really the cost of dinner, basically, at least dinner with my wife anyways. You could go get my checklist, which is, we call it the Quick Start. So it's flippinghouses4rookies.com/quick start. Okay. So if you want more information on what we're talking about today, we have a little system that's actually, it's a video. So if you do best learning with video, you can watch the video. It's an audio file. If you do best with audio, you can put it on your phone or whatever device you use and listen to it there. Or if you read, there's a transcript. Okay, and at the back of the book, or the back of the transcript, or on the we actually send you a thumb drive that has all these files on it, and you just put them on whatever device you want. There's actually a checklist, a 2-page checklist that will show you how to find deals and how to do stuff that we're talking about. And it's just a checklist. You just go through it, rat-a-tat-tat. And I've had many students and clients go through that. I got a girl that I was with last night in the meetup that's doing it, and she's like, now, I know I'm kind of ranting along, but when I hear things like this, I just get, because we figured out like 6 months ago that if you call 5 people, you'll get somebody to talk to about a deal. You won't get a deal necessarily, but you'll have a lead.
Yeah.
So I haven't been promoting that because some people haven't done that. It's been as many as 10, right? And it was so relieving last night when she said to me, Bill, I only made 5 phone calls and I have a lead. She's like showing me the deal, and she's like, I got to make an offer on this house. What should I do? She called 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
She's completely brand new, but she did it off of my checklist.
Yep.
She just followed the checklist. Matter of fact, I felt bad for her. She's a cute little girl with a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
Right. And she's like, she comes in a meeting. And so I actually I sponsored her and gave her the system. And she came back this month and it's like, oh my God, I go to the YMCA. She goes, I think she got 4 kids. They're all little, like 6 months to 2 years or something. And because I pay for the YMCA, they'll watch the kids for a couple hours. And I go out in the car in the other room and I call sellers because she's got babies.
She does, yeah.
So to me, that's somebody that really wants to do real estate, and it was worth it.
Well, she cried when you gave her the thumb drive.
Yeah.
And she was just glorious yesterday when she was getting results.
Yeah. So, but my point is she's telling me that she only called 5 people.
Yeah.
So it's that easy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So just go to flippinghouses4rookies.com/quick start. and you can get it there. Or just listen to this podcast a few times and take notes because there's a lot of good information here. Okay? So we're over now, Peter. Next week.
See you, Bill.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.